We're up here in the Kosciuszko Mountains and there's not a phone tower anywhere near us, but we've got full connectivity. There is no doubt that Starlink has completely changed the game as far as getting connectivity in remote areas in Australia, but a lot has changed. It's been almost a year since we did our last video on Starlink, and there's a whole range of different hardware options, service plans. We're going to run through all that in this video, the new Mini Gen 3 dish, as well as different power options, what service plan might suit you, and just our experience with using Starlink over the last couple of years, where it works well, where it doesn't, and everything you need to know. So stick around for all that. Let's dive into it. As well as all that, we've got another $500 voucher to give away. This time it is from Cowfish. Cowfish make a whole range of different products when it comes to getting connectivity in your RV or caravan, whether it be Starlink, whether it be 5G connectivity, whether you want a decent Wi-Fi network inside and outside your van, and dishes as well for your TV reception. They make a whole range of different options. We're going to be going through all those later in this video. To enter that competition is as simple as scanning the QR code that's at the bottom of the screen here and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Jump over there, scan that QR code. That'll take you to our website where you can enter your details to be in the draw to win. The winner is going to be drawn at random, notified by email, and it is open to Australian residents only. So get in that draw and we'll go through the different Cowfish options later in this video and let you know what you can be spending that voucher on. Last week, we showed you the wrap and the reveal of the wrap on our van. We did an interior and exterior wrap. So wrapped with the result of that and wrapped with the response we got. I know a few of you were hoping to see a bit more of it inside and out. There is plenty more coming. There was only so much that we can fit into one video. Next week, we are going to be doing a full walkthrough of our caravan inside and out. Not just the wrap and revealing all that, but showing you as well some of the new tech that we've put in this van, some new products on the Australian market in the caravan and RV space, as well as what we spec for our off-grid power system. New gear for us, new gear for the market. Can't wait to show you all that. So stick around. That'll be in next week's video. And we've got a bunch of other awesome travel content coming up as well. So you're not going to want to miss that. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on all of that. All right, well, first things first, what is Starlink? If you have never heard of Starlink, I'd be very surprised, but Starlink is essentially a network of low Earth orbit satellites that give us the ability to connect to those satellites for low latency, high speed internet. It provides an internet connection Australia-wide, anywhere in Australia, as long as you've got a view of the sky and is free from obstructions, you are going to be able to get yourself a connection to the internet. Why would you want to do that? Why wouldn't you just be out camping and enjoying the outdoors? Well, these days, a lot of us are traveling full-time or long-term, and a lot of us are out here as digital nomads, effectively working as we travel. If you're like us, you also might be considering schooling for the kids, and of course, entertainment. There's always going to be that factor there. We all love a few Netflix shows here and there, or live sport. A lot of people we know travel with it for live sport. On top of all that, it does actually provide a really good option for safety and security by giving you the ability to have communication anywhere in Australia. You're going to be able to make phone calls over that internet, as well as get in touch with people via email and any sort of online app that you've got that you might be able to get communication. So as far as remote area travel, it has certainly given us a much more effective and a much more cost-effective way of getting a connection to the internet to be able to get in contact if there's an emergency. So for us, being able to have that Starlink connections come in handy when we've had vehicle breakdowns and things like that. You guys might have seen last year when we were in the Pilbara, very, very remote Pilbara, we destroyed the diff in the rear of our car. And it took us quite a long time to figure out what that was, to diagnose it, and to figure out a solution to be able to get the car and caravan out of where we were and get to help. If we didn't have the Starlink at the time, we would have had absolutely no communication. We were hours and hours and hundreds of kilometers from any form of two-way communication. Our only other backup for security and safety is our emergency PLB. They would have come to rescue us, but the car and caravan would have stayed right where it was, because that's all that those are for. So being able to have the Starlink set up in situations like that and being able to have complete two-way communication, and not just like a phone call like a sat phone would get you. I was able to video call and send videos to our mechanic and get videos back again. So those sorts of situations are where Starlink really comes into its own. The other one for us is being able to stay in places like where we are now up here in Kosciuszko. It's not always that remote where you find that you've got absolutely no connection to the internet. Now, that may not matter to a lot of people if you're just coming up here for a camping trip, and that's where we used to come up here back in the day in our camper trailer, and it was a great place to go camping. But for where we are now, we need to be able to run our business, work online, as well as do the kids' schooling online. So for us, that's where the Starlink has really changed the game and has given us the ability to do things we just weren't able to do before and maintain the best part about travel for us, which is that flexibility. Being able to get online to do some research about where you might want to travel to next while you're out already traveling. Being able to make bookings somewhere like where we are now, we're in the middle of Kosciuszko. These campsites do need to be booked online before you come here, but once you're here, if you want to change your mind or want to decide you want to stay for a bit longer or book, you do need internet to be able to do that. So it does give us the ability to do that, as well as be able to check things just as simple as things like the weather, to be able to see where we might want to travel, how long we might want to stay places for, and things like that. Or if we're just looking for things to do for a day trip, being able to get online to do that research is super handy as well. For all those reasons, we think it's an absolute awesome option for travelers out there. But these days there is a number of different options as well to suit a wide range of travelers and a wide range of needs. But the beauty of it is you can turn it off. So you don't have to have it on just because it's there. You can turn it off, light the fire, go sit by the fire, pretend it's not there, and enjoy camping just like we always did. But it gives us the ability to be able to work and school and do everything like that from anywhere in the country, which is pretty awesome. Now, while in theory Starlink will get your connection anywhere in Australia, it is much more useful when you go more remote. So once we're getting away from where there's phone tower availability and things like that, the more remote you go, the better it gets, generally because there's fewer people on the network and fewer obstructions as well. Anything like trees, buildings, other vehicles, caravans, anything like that is going to impact your connection to the internet. There's more likely that you're going to have dropouts and that those dropouts are going to go for longer and be more significant. So although it is internet anywhere in the country, there are some considerations there that you're not going to be able to get a brilliant connection no matter where you are. We've camped in places deep in the valleys, like when we're up at Yak and Danda earlier in the year, and deep down in the valley there are lots of trees around. It is hard to get a good connection or a very stable connection. It is a lot better than a lot of other alternatives, and in some places it's the only internet connection you're going to be able to get. It doesn't necessarily mean that no matter where you are and wherever you're camping that you're going to have uninterrupted high-speed internet. Okay, so when it comes to Starlink hardware, there's a number of different options out there these days. These are the three main ones you're going to come across. This is the old original, the V2. This is the one that we've had for a couple of years now. It's known in the Starlink world as the actuated, I think if you're looking online for it, the actuated dish. And this one is V3. This is the dish that's been out for probably a year or a bit more now. This is the V3 dish, or just the standard dish. And then lastly over there is the Mini, and that's the one that we've recently purchased. So what all three are going to have in common is there's the dish and then there's the router. The dish is what gets the signal from the satellites, and the router is what transmits that signal basically to your devices. So this is your Wi-Fi router. The actuated dish, the big thing with this one is that it's up on this pole. This is how it comes, and has the aluminium stand for it as well. So it stands up off the ground, and this has a motor inside it, so it can move around and look for a signal when you first boot it up, and you can also stow it and put it into stow mode when you're going to pack it away. The big advantage to that is it's going to orientate itself to the best angle to get a connection without you having to do anything. Then you've got the router here, and then of course the power supply. Now all of these dishes are powered by 240 volt as they come, and we'll talk about other options for those later. But yeah, that's basically your kit there, is those two things, and these are connected by a 30-meter cable between the router and the dish. So you can put the dish quite a way away, but then you're limited to about a 1.5 meter power cord. So this is going to need to be near your power supply, which works quite well in a caravan situation. You're going to have that plugged in somewhere at the van, and then run the dish out to wherever you're going to get a nice clear signal. Downsides to this one, it's the most bulky of the options, so you're going to need a bit more room to store it, and with the aluminium base and everything, it is also the heaviest, but it doesn't use as much power as the new V3 dish, which we'll move on to in a minute. This one here averages about 50 or 60 watts, so a little bit lower in fact. They all vary a fair bit. It's hard to measure exactly, and we'll show you in a minute how we've been measuring their power consumption, but this one's going to be about that mid-range power consumption out of the three options. Okay, so moving along to the V3 dish. So compared side by side, you can see this is quite a bit bigger. It's quite a bit longer and wider than the V2 dish, but it's quite a lot flatter as well. It comes with just a little fold-up kickstand like that, so you can fold that out, sit it on the ground, but the difference here is there's no motor, it's manual orientation. So you can use the app, into the app, log onto that, and then you can orientate this dish to get the best signal possible. Now again, it comes with the router. This is here is its router, but its power supply is separate. So you got two boxes with this one. this power supply here, and then your router. Now the difference here is that this router is Wi-Fi 6, I think they call it, enabled, which gives you a better and faster Wi-Fi network than the old V2 router that we were using earlier. So the V3 is a good option as far as it's a lighter weight, more compact. Downsides are it's a bit bigger, but it is flatter, and in that sense probably a little bit easier to store. Other big downside is you've got to manually orientate that one. So the V3 is a little bit more power hungry than the old V2. This one will get you up around the sort of 75 to 100 watts. So it's starting to get up there. That's in the realms of sort of 6 to 8 amps power consumption to run this one. So that is something to consider if you're going to be wanting to run for a long time, run that internet for a long period of time for a work day or something like that. Or if you just want to watch a lot of Netflix, the power consumption of that one is something to consider. All right, let's move on to the Mini now. Alrighty, so the little Mini. So it is literally a mini version of the V3, has the fold up stand, just the same. It's a nice little flat dish. This gives you some idea here of the comparison of the size. So it's about half as long and about 2/3 the width of that one. So it's quite a lot smaller, really, really lightweight, and has the lowest power consumption of them all. This one, once it's up and running, I've seen it as low as about 13 watts of power. So really, really frugal on power. The other big difference with the Mini, or small difference. The other big difference with the Mini, apart from its compact size, is that the router is built into this. So rather than the V2 and the V3 dish where we had to have the separate router, that's all built into the dish itself. So all we have is this tiny little power supply. It comes with a 15-meter cable. You send power to the dish. Again, you've got to orientate this one manually, but it will get up and running as simple as that and give you a signal from there. So pretty awesome, the little Mini, and as I said, really lightweight. Now with both the V3 dish and the Mini, in theory they can lay flat. You don't have to get them orientated perfectly. They will work laying flat. You may not get the best signal possible, but they do have quite a field of view. They will work laying flat, and all three dishes now are enabled to work in motion, which is a relatively new thing. So being able to have them work in motion means that our option for the Mini was to install it on the roof of the car. So this one we've got a roof rack mount for, and I installed it up there, ran the cable down through the firewall into the car, and we're going to power that from the car and have this as a permanent solution on the car. Because of that in motion, we can use this around camp, but also use it while we're driving to get updates on traffic, weather, whatever it might be, do some research, let the kids watch some stuff in the back seat. So that's pretty cool to be able to do that. This is only relatively new to us to be able to do that. But the downside is the Wi-Fi signal from this isn't as powerful. So you do need to be a lot closer to it, but it is still possible to have this, say, in the car where we're parked here and the van's just there, which is a fairly typical scenario for us, and we're able to get a signal from the van just fine. Now with the signal of this one going through the walls of the van, something to consider is our van is a composite van. I haven't had a chance to test it in like an aluminium clad van, but generally the aluminium vans do block the signal a little bit more. So that's something to consider. So this could be the option for us moving forward. It isn't going to be, like I said, quite as lightning fast. I still have seen speeds on this one of over 100 megabits a second. This one here will do up to 200 megabits a second, and our old V2 will do about 150 megabits a second at the max. But unless you're doing quite a lot of high speed work where you need that, I don't think for the majority of people you're going to notice the difference. Uploads like we use a lot of, again, they're pretty comparable. I'm still getting double digits for this one, 12 to 15 megabits a second uploads. So that's plenty for us and what we need. But yeah, look, overall, I think the Mini's a really cool option. It's just going to be the best way to utilize it, because the disadvantage to having it to the car is if one of us takes the car into town or goes for a drive or goes to do the shopping or something like that, they're going to be taking the internet with them. So my option for that is I can take this off the roof like I have here to show you guys today, take it down off the roof, and then I just need a second power supply cord, because this is the one that's wired up through the car, just to be able to run that. This is also one of the easier ones to 12 volt convert, but we'll get into that in a little bit. So to test out the different power consumptions of the different Starlink hardware, so the V2, V3 and the Mini, I've been using the Bluetti Elite 200. This gives me an exact readout on here of how many watts they're using. If I was doing it off the van, it's hard to isolate what's being used by the Starlink and what's being used by other devices and other circuits in the caravan. So from this one, I'm running our old V2 off it, and it sits generally around that 30 to 40 watts, which is its average. It's starting to move now, so it's going searching for a signal. So That spiked it up to about 50, but once it's operating, it's going to be back down around that sort of 30 to 40 watts. When I was doing it with the V3, it was up around the sort of 50 to 60 watts. And as I said, with the Mini, it was consistently down into 20 watts, although they do all fluctuate and vary a fair bit. So I'm doing my best to try and get an average there for you. The advantage of this again is it's got the inverter built in, so you can run any of the Starlink products from it, plug directly into it, but it's a 2600 watt inverter, so you could also run your coffee machine or induction or anything off this as well. And with a 170 amp battery in there, it's going to run a Starlink for hours and hours, with the Mini potentially days. So this would be a really good option if you wanted to have it Starlink in your caravan, you didn't have an inverter, or if you want to run in your car and you don't have an inverter, or if you just want that secondary backup power supply. And by coupling it up with a portable solar panel, like this is a 350 watt panel here, with that, the Bluetti and the Starlink, you've effectively got a completely off-grid internet solution, which I think is pretty cool, running it completely from the sun. That's all good if you want to run it from 240 volt, but let's go and have a look at what the options are if you want to run it off 12 volt. Okay, so for most of us who are going to want to be using Starlink off-grid, a 12 volt conversion is really worthwhile considering, because it means you're not going to be running your inverter or need an inverter at all to be able to run your Starlink. And if you're like us and want to be able to run it for a long period of time, like we often run it for hours and hours every day, you don't necessarily want to leave your inverter running, because you will use more power. Depending on the size of your inverter, it varies, but you will be using more power by having your inverter idling effectively and only running a relatively small current device like Starlink. So 12 volt conversion's a really good option. As far as 12 volt conversions go, we've always used, or the last couple of times we've done it, we've used Cowfish products. These are an Aussie made company, and this is who you can win a voucher from, a $500 voucher to put towards any of these products if you win that competition. So don't forget to enter that one. There's that little QR code down there for you to go and enter that one. If you do miss out on that though, we do also have a discount code, so you're able to go and use that. If you use any of our discount codes that we offer, you get 10% off, we get 10% commission as well. So it's a win-win for everyone, and it's only on products that we trust, recommend, like Cowfish that we've used for a long time before. So of all of them, the Starlink Mini is the easiest to 12 volt convert, because it already kind of is 12 volt. But with that said, if you wanted to be able to just run it off a cigarette lighter or if USB-C, your maximum cable length you can run is about 5 meters. So it does limit you a little bit. If you go over 5 meters, you start to have issues with low power dropouts and things like that. So the solution to that is to use Cowfish's Cosmo Mini. This one will allow you to run a longer lead, basically, so you can run up to your 15 meter lead that it comes with. The advantage to these ones these days, if you watched our video from last year, when we did our 12 volt conversion of our V2 dish, and we used the Starlink integration kit and coupled that up with the 5G van connect from Cowfish that gave us 5G Wi-Fi as well as Starlink Wi-Fi throughout the van, is that back then we had to cut the cable, and you still do if you're going to use an actuated kit, because it doesn't come with the right connections. It has a proprietary plug that you can't use, so you had to cut the cable. Nowadays, with both the V3 dish and with the Mini, there's no more cutting cables. These are literally a plug and play solution. You just need to give them a power supply and away you go. So we're going to be using in the car the Cosmo Mini. That one's going to mean that we've got a 12 volt supply, as I said, for the Mini. It's a tiny little unit like that. We just give it a 12 volt supply. You can either hardwire it, you can run that off a cigarette lighter plug if you want. They provide that as well. Or it might be an option to buy that separately. I better check that one. You can also run it off an Anderson or anything like that, but it's simple as turn it on and plug it in and away you go. So that's a really good option to be able to run Mini, and to be able to do an install like we've done, we need to be able to run more than a 5 meter cable. So that's the best way to do that. Similar sort of thing for the V3 dish, that big flat dish that you saw, probably the one that most commonly people are using these days, a slightly bigger power supply, but again, that allows you to just hardwire that and use the factory router, use the router that the Starlink comes with, and give it a 12 volt supply. And that's going to significantly reduce the amount of power consumption by not having to utilize an inverter. Now the next step up again, which is what we did in our last van and we'll again be doing in this latest van that we just got, is installing the Van Connect 5G. So this replaces the Starlink router. So you're now giving it a different router to be able to use. And the advantage to that is that it's a It's a better router for one, but it also allows us to run this external antenna. So this will get installed on the roof of the caravan. That gives us a Wi-Fi signal outside the van as well, up to about 100 meters away from the van. So a huge, really good, powerful Wi-Fi signal. It's also a 5G receiver. So we're able to run a 5G network as well for areas where we don't need the Starlink and we want to be able to just run off a 5G network. We can put a SIM card into the Van Connect 5G and connect to any of the 4 5G networks in Australia. So that gives us that. It also allows us, we can plug a hard drive into that and have a centralized data solution as well, so that we can store movies and files, documents, photos, all that sort of stuff on a hard drive plugged into that, and any device that then connects to the network can get access to it. And then we're going to couple that with the Starlink integration kit, which gives you a 12-volt solution for the old actuated dish, or the, what do you call it? The V2 dish. So this is how we're going to power our V2 dish with the 12-volt supply, because that V3 dish that I showed you earlier in the video isn't actually ours. We borrowed that one for the video. So there are your different 12-volt options, and any of these products you can use that voucher on if you're the winner of the giveaway. And as I said, if not, you can always use that discount code and save yourself 10% there as well. But that's a really good option if you're going to want to be off-grid a lot and using Starlink a lot. It's a really worthwhile one to consider to give you the best or the lowest power consumption and be able to run it for a lot longer. Alrighty, so you picked out which Starlink you're going to buy and you've got your 12-volt solution sorted. The next thing to decide on is the service plan, or the plan with Starlink that you're going to run with. Now, back in the day, when I say that, like 12 months ago, there was only one option. It was the $175, I think it was back then, roughly, monthly plan that gave you unlimited data. These days, that plan is now $195. It's gone up in price, but there is also a 50 gigabyte option for $80 a month. So that's a really good one and a really good option if you're not a high data user. Do be aware that 50 gigabytes these days is pretty easy to run through, but if you're going to be a little bit frugal with your data usage, or if you primarily just want your Starlink for being able to check up on weather, emails, things like that, and be able to have that backup for emergencies and things as well, the 50 gigabyte plan could be a really good option for you. If you are going to be watching a lot of live sport or downloading Netflix or watching Netflix and things like that, you might find you have to be a little bit careful with running over that 50 gigabyte limit, because it won't just cut out. It does start charging you per gigabyte afterwards. So it could end up being a much more expensive option. You can switch between any of the plans at any time. There's no contracts with any of them, which we really like with Starlink. There's no month-to-month contract or longer contract. It's just pay as you go. Both of those roam plans, both the $80 50 gig plan and the $195 unlimited plan, can be paused at any time. You do have to do it in month blocks, so you can't just pause it and unpause it day to day. It is month by month. But if you're not someone who's traveling full time and only wants your Starlink on that roam plan while you're traveling for, say, a month or a couple of months a year, that's a really good way to get that cost down. Now, when it comes to purchasing cost, the Mini is about $50 more than the V3 at the moment. If you do sign up using our link, we've got a referral link from Starlink. If you use that link, I'll leave it in the description below, or I'll leave a QR code here as well. If you sign up using that link, you'll get yourself a free month, and we get a free month on ours as well. So again, another one of those win-wins, but that will offset your cost by about $195 or that first month of service. So that will help offset that hardware cost for you, and you can pause and resume that plan as much as you want just through the app. It's very, very simple to do, and we find we do that when we're in areas where we don't need Starlink a lot, and we can just run off 4 and 5G. So that helps to offset that cost there a little bit. Now, there is rumours at the moment that there is a $10 plan getting around at the moment, a $10 10 gigabyte plan. At the moment, that's only being offered to certain customers, and from the sounds of it, it's mostly for people who have paused their Starlink for a long time, and Starlink's trying to use it as a way to incentivise them to unpause their plan and just go for a $10 10 gigabyte plan, which is a great option again if you're an infrequent user and don't need a lot of data. But at the moment, that's not available on the Starlink website. Maybe we'll see that get added over the next few months, but keep an eye out for that one there as well, because that could be a good option for some people. Now, if you want to run multiple Starlink dishes, like at the moment we're running our old V2 actuated dish and our mini dish mounted on the vehicle, at the moment you have to have two completely separate plans, so it can get very expensive. That's probably not something that we'll do moving forward. We'll have to make a decision. It's not really financially viable for us to run two simultaneously. We'll pick one as we move forward and decide which way we're going to go. At this stage, it'll probably be we'll stick with the Mini. The other one will get retired, but we'll see how we go. There is some advantages to having the big dish. The main one is that we're able to have that 30-metre lead and get it right out and away from obstructions, whereas if it's mounted to the car, we have to move the car or take the dish down off the roof to be able to do that, and it's limited by that 15-metre cable. So a few pros and cons there, but look, hopefully that gives you a good idea of what's available as far as Starlink, whether it's for you or not, and if it's for you, which hardware and which service plan might be for you. Leave us a comment below. Do you have Starlink? Do you agree with everything I've said? Is there anything I've missed? Anything that you think people should know about with Starlink? If you haven't already got Starlink, don't forget to check out that link that we've got in the description below. Get yourself a free month and help us out as well by getting us a free month. If you're interested in any of those Cowfish products, I'll leave a link for those in the description below. Don't forget to use our discount code there if you're going to buy any of those. And don't forget to enter that competition. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. There's a lot to remember. Hopefully you've got all that figured out. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. Don't forget to hit like on the video as well. And we'll see you next Sunday.
I think it's time for me to go burn all bridges. All I know, I got lost along the way, fell between